Oh, yeah.
Don't call the record.
Oh, there he is.
Matthew? You're
Yeah, they
live.
gotta stand in line, so.
Good afternoon. We will reconvene this special session. We have two agenda items.
This is a new session.
Yes, we will reconvene as a group for a new meeting, special session. And I think we can skip over the pledge. We did that at our last meeting. But we're asking for a clerk's roll call.
Commissioner O'Rourke.
Here.
Commissioner Rexroth.
Present.
Chairman Wessel.
Here.
Commissioner Ross.
Here.
Commissioner Allgaier.
Here.
Commissioner Melton. Present.
Okay. And we do have public comment. If anybody in the audience would like to make public comment about either one of our agenda items, please do so. Okay. Any commissioner comments? I think I'd like to, for my comments, say thanks, Brendan, for being here, the road commission manager, and Jimmy and Garth for road commissioners. Thanks for being here. And we're here because I think we ought to think about John Popa. He served on the road commission well, and his death is why we're meeting today. So, Richard, are you going to talk to us about this process?
Well, anything I can share with you, and is I have two candidates. You have some questions that you can ask. I would recommend that you start from one side to the other, take turns asking questions. You have about 30 minutes for each of the candidates. I'll bring the candidates in for you when the time comes. I'll give you about 5 minutes in between so you can catch a breath or get a cup of water if you need one. And when you're done, if you're ready, you can make a selection which one you would like to recommend to be appointed. Because it's a special meeting, that appointment would be done immediately. So we can do that at this meeting. Clear as mud?
Yep. So about 20 minutes interview or so?
No, about 30 minutes. I had planned for about 30 minutes or 25 minutes.
Okay.
But it also depends on how the conversation's going.
Yep.
When you interviewed me, I thought you were only going to keep me here for 15, and you kept me here forever, so that's okay.
So 6 of us, and you want to leave, if we can, leave our questions and answers about
Yeah.
more than 4 or 5 minutes. So we should
Yeah.
probably just make
Yeah.
that clear, right?
Yep.
Right.
So you have a list of potential questions you can ask, and we'll take it from there.
So Mr. Black is here, Mel Black is here. Mel, why don't you come up to the table? We have,
You're first? Okay. I'm sorry.
we have seen your letter of interest and your paperwork, and thanks for being here. And we're going to start for this one at the end of the table, and each of us are going to ask you a question. And then we'll see where we are in time, but allow you to ask some questions too. But before we start, give us a little bit of background and your career history.
Well, if you looked at my letter, you saw that I collected business cards for a while. I changed careers a couple times, which was all right. I enjoyed what I did. And I was very critical of the road commission down in Skidmore County initially. I felt like prior to, I guess, one of the government making some changes, I felt like the road commission was just using money. And so I was critical. And I was in a restaurant one day and several of the county commissioners were in there eating. And I went up to them, and it was after the governor says, I'd like to expand the road commission from 3 members to 5. I'd like counties to have that option to go from 3 to 5. And he said, but they need to cut the benefits back and so forth. Well, I was glad to see that because I felt like somebody on the road commission that meets once or twice a month, because about 60% of them, about 90% of them meet twice a month, and the rest once a month. But meeting once or twice a month and going to some meetings throughout the state and getting full retirement benefits and full life insurance and, well, health insurance, which was getting more costly every year, I thought it was ridiculous. And I criticized them. Well, I ran into these county commissioners like yourselves, and I told them, I'm glad to see you finally took the bull by the horns and changed things. They cut the benefits out. Yeah, I think they cut the pay in half. And they said, now it looks like we won't be able to get anybody to apply for the job. And I said, they'll stumble over each other to get the job. And they said, if that's the case, then throw your name in the hat. So I did. I didn't think I would get appointed. And one of the gentlemen said, I need somebody to come and give invocation in the next meeting. He said, would you do that? And I said, certainly. So I went to the next meeting and said my prayer and then sat down. And lo and behold, first thing on the agenda was appointment of a road commissioner. And I heard my name, but I was reading the agenda. And I heard my name announced, and I found out, I was critical, now I'm one of them. And it was a pleasant surprise. But I found I really enjoyed it. I got very involved. As we would go to meetings, for instance, from Muskegon over to Bay City, we went there sometime. We went to different areas of the state for state meetings. Found out that Saginaw County had decided to do 3 miles of road with a rubber emulsion mix. They did 1 mile with 8% mix, 1 mile with 10% mix, and 1 mile with 12% mix. Each time we got near that area, take a look at how those roads are holding up. We're spending taxpayer dollars. We want to make sure we're doing the very best we can do for them. And so we look at the roads and look at the shoulders, how they were holding up, and if it was cracking and that type of thing. And then Muskegon County, after doing that, we went over the 10% mix in the middle, and we did a mile stretch of our own. And it's turned out to be, in fact, I would drive on almost daily, because it was up my minor 50 acres, and when I had run to the store, there's where I went. And that road has held up very well. In fact, I was down there last week, and last Wednesday, and I drove on that stretch of road, and it looks good, it's great. And that's been probably close to 12 years now. So when you're looking at things like spending the taxpayer dollar, you gotta look out for the very best. So I guess that's enough right now. I'll just answer questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you. We'll start down here with Commissioner Lautner.
Sure. I'm going to start right out with the potential for the Leelanau Road explosion of traffic this summer, the work on the M22. So we've sent a request through Grand Traverse County to perhaps put a traffic light at the end of Gray and at Cedar Run. So what do you think the position of our road commission should be? What involvement in that, and what else could we do to help with that traffic situation?
I saw the article in the paper, and I recognized, I went down there and looked at that stretch, and I drive it quite often. They're gonna have to put some traffic lights up there, they're gonna have to time them. Right now, the one right on 72, for instance, it changes, there's camera and it changes as it to satisfy the traffic. It's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be tough for a while. I mean, no matter what you do, because you haven't got time to widen the road as far as another lane. So it's going to be traffic lights like at Cedar Run
So
intersection.
to time them at
And they're gonna
Woodline
be timed.
and Cedar Run.
And I think that Grand Traverse needs to address Barney Road going down toward the hospital. There's a stretch there that is extremely rough, and I think it should be addressed prior to this, because a lot of people are going to use that, and they're using it now more than normal, because it's with the bay, work on the bay, they were using that as a cut through to get where they needed to go. They're going to have to address it in a lot of different areas. The people will be looking for a shortcut. And so you're going to see traffic in different areas you wouldn't normally see it. And I don't think they can eliminate all the problem, but they can make it a little better.
Thank you. Jim?
So if you get on there, do you want to cut the benefits of our other commissioners?
You're asking me if I
Yes.
should?
Yes.
I don't know what the benefits are exactly of this county. I wouldn't say cut all the benefits, no. But I would say have it fit the job. You know, the problem in Muskegon County was they were going full retirement, full, and some of those guys had served in different capacities in the county, so they were getting close to retirement years, and then you start, well, we dealt with it on the union level, because we pushed from 55 retirements, we moved it up to 60. They went on a strike for a few days because they were upset about moving from 55 up to 60. But it was draining us. We were dumping a lot of money into retirement benefits. People were leaving early at 55, and then we're paying out pensions, full pensions for 5 more years. Now it's at 60, and hopefully we're going to get it up to 62, I think. When I left there, that was the talk.
Okay, well, we have the finest road commission in the state of Michigan. We don't believe that, go down to Benzie County after a snowstorm to go and drive safe. We do a good job, and I believe, and it takes good people and good benefits to do a good job.
And I will agree on that.
Okay.
But you could talk to Bert Thompson in Antrim County, you could talk to John Rogers over in Kalakaska County. I could name several of them, because I got to know these guys on a first name basis. And they would tell you they're the best. I thought Muskegon County was phenomenal. But I have been up here for 6 years now, and I'm telling you, I like what I see.
Okay.
They do a great job.
Thank you. Ran.
With flat and/or declining revenues and less matching money available from local municipalities, how would you prioritize work to be done by the road commission?
That's a tough question for me to answer because I think Brendan back here could probably answer that better than myself. But you still have to address traffic flow and the roads that are going to be carrying much weight. Most traffic has got to be dealt with. It can't be left in rough condition. You look for the very best economical way to get a good surface. I love this chip seal programs that most of the counties have adapted to, and I think they do a phenomenal job here in this county. You can extend 10 years of life just with chip sealing and putting a cover on that, cloud on that. You just got to take care of the needs of the traffic flow.
The constituents that I hear from about road conditions really are concerned about the quality and maintenance of our local roads. So one question to you would be, what would you do to further enhance the relationship between the road commission, the city, the townships, and the villages within Leelanau County?
The way the tax is divided in the state of Michigan, 39% go to the state, 39% to the county roads. The rest is divided amongst the villages and cities. There needs to be a close working relationship with the county and the villages because they don't hardly, you get very little money really to do it. And thankfully, they've got an additional millage here in this county, which I think is a real benefit. There's very few counties that have done that. I think less than a third of them have any millage money going, additional money than what they would normally get. And concentrate some of that in the villages and cities because they get so little. And their streets, sometimes they're just in terrible shape because they just don't have the money. They don't have the funds.
Thanks for being here. What do you consider to be the core responsibilities of a road commissioner?
Making sure that they spend the taxpayer money the best way possible. Even buying equipment. I think there was one critical thing we did in Muskegon County, and I don't even know if it was done in Leelanau County. We went over to Genesee County and saw they had a program with a parts manufacturer. Well, for one thing, you always try to buy the same kind of truck year in and year out. But we We did it in Muskegon County. We had the international dealers that come in and stocked our shelves. And they kept our shelves, our part shelves stocked. And we didn't pay for the part until we pulled it off the shelf to use it. We let them carry the cost of the inventory. And that was a big savings. Genesee County led the way. And we went and saw how they did it. They computerized the whole thing. And it was a real intelligent move. Because then we take a bearing off the shelf, it's going right on the truck. We're paying for it as we use it. Rather than stock it there and have it get obsolete 5 years later, you're loaded with a whole bunch of obsolete parts. That was a wise move. But spend the taxpayer money the best way you can.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Now, we've got two talented, experienced candidates.
Yes.
So please tell us why we should appoint you to fill this road commission position. And what do you bring to the commission?
Well, I have the ability and I like to meet people. I made my life in sales nearly all my life. And because of that, I used to love, I was probably the number one guy in our company that liked to make cold calls. I like to meet people. I like to talk to people. And therefore, when there was a problem in a township, I'll give you an example, Scenic Drive. We decided to redo Scenic Drive down there along Lake Michigan, from Laketon Township and Fruitland Township. The two townships, some of those people were they were up in the air about the idea we were going to go and cut a few trees. We did have to cut a few. So I went to both township board meetings, and I addressed the audience, and I says, the name Scenic Drive is on there for a reason, and we're going to keep it scenic. But we have to take a few other trees out. And the trees that are marked, and if you are concerned about the individual trees, we'll meet with you and we'll discuss it. If at all possible, we can save the tree, we will. If we can't, because of safety reasons, we'll have to do it. But we're going to keep it scenic. And when it got done, it's beautiful. We wish they'd have allowed us, or would have spent additional money and put a bike trail along it. They didn't want to spend the added money. But we did a beautiful job at Scenic Drive, and it was always, and it's still scenic. And I lived in Fruitland Township. That was one of the areas I lived in.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Melinda, you got another question?
Well, let me see here. Now, what can we ask you about? Actually, well, okay. I think you've already spoke quite a bit about what you would bring to the business. I think you've got some interesting ideas. I really like the idea of the inventory, what you were speaking about. I don't know that presently we're using that type of a organization or management, but I've heard of other organizations doing that, and I really like that. So what else would you bring to the commission to make it more efficient?
One thing I would say, in case you're thinking I have aspirations to be chairman, that is not so. I was chairman, our board was made up predominantly of Democrats, and it's not a political issue when you're dealing with our roads. It really isn't. And yet I was Republican, and they voted me as chair. Because it's not a political issue. It really is dealing with the public, trying to keep them happy, yet doing your job, even if it makes rocks vote again. You do what you have to do. I don't have aspirations. We have some good people on that board right now. And in fact, there's one engineer on there that I think is very good. So, whatever, we do our best. And I feel like I can add to the board and work along with these men and get it right.
Yes, again, we have two very qualified people. I'm sure they could have come up with any questions you have.
Good.
What do you see as the number one priority if you're of the board, if you are appointed
Well, I would say we're having a good working relationship with all your employees, and I'm friends with a few of them already. One gentleman that works out at the Maple City Garage, his daughter goes to our church, and he and I are friends. And I've met a few others. One of the drivers, who drives one of the big trucks, he goes to our church. And I have a very good relationship with all of them. I think employee relationship, if they like their boss, respect their boss, will generally produce a lot more. And I think that's great.
So I'm going to go back to the local roads. That seems to be where most of people have problems, that there isn't funding that's supporting those. So how do we improve the communication between residents, villages, townships, and the County Road Commission to help us set priorities and institute policies that better support local roads?
Well, there's a couple ways. I think that, like I just talked about Cindy Drive, I think the commissioners themselves, the board members on that road commission, more than just the chair, other members can go to township board meetings and make themselves visible, and their boards will realize that this gentleman lives in my area, and he's here at our board meeting, he's concerned. We cover that. There's things like you have a few gravel roads. Went down to Kalamazoo County for a meeting. Kalamazoo County had taken a 1 mile stretch and made a third of it with a mix of emulsion, a third of it with shingle mix, and a third of it with a different type of gravel, the size of the stone. We went down and a few of us drove that 1 mile stretch. And we, without talking to each other, voted as what third of the road we thought was the best. Amazing, all of us went with shingle mix. With the kind of thing that goes into the gravel, it's spread over the gravel, and it holds the dust out. Dust control. People, that's the thing they hate about a dirt road, it's the gravel. They want their car clean, and you gotta drive on a dirt road, and it's just a mess. And the shingle mix held down the dust the best. And you can use brine. Yes, you're going to brine the roads at least once or twice a summer, but the mix helps a lot too. It's things like that you can do. Have that relationship with people.
I have no further questions.
I have one last question for me, and it's about road-ins. In a county that has a lot of lakeshore, road-ins are sometimes controversial. Sometimes the road commission gets involved in those projects and those decisions. What's your view on road-ins in Leelanau County?
I'm glad you brought that up, because Muskegon County had the same issue with White Lake, Mona Lake, Lake Michigan, the roads that went into White Lake. We worked for the townships, and we deeded the road ends over to the townships. We had saved ourselves a lot of grief, because it ends up, one of those at the end of River Road, where it ended right to a two-track going out to Lake Michigan. The two neighbors fought over that two-track when we abandoned it. Our county abandoned that stretch. Well, we found that we couldn't abandon it. So they'd already put a fence in the middle of it. We had to take the fence out, move the fences back, and we deeded over to Fruitland Township. It became their issue. We no longer end up being dragged into court every time there was a fight over how to handle that road. It became the township's issue. And not only that, some of them turned them into like a dog park on the line. The one on White Lake, they turned it into a boat launch with a picnic area. There's things that the townships can do at these road ends, but it also saves the road commission, lets them concentrate on what they do best, and that's paving and taking care of the roads, not road ends. So that's my answer to that.
Well, now it's your turn to ask anybody here a question or two.
Well, I didn't prepare myself to ask questions. I was preparing myself to answer questions. I know what you're looking for in a road commission. I know what we did in Muskegon County. I think I know what they're doing up here. I don't, you feel like, for instance, Jim here indicated something about benefits. Do they need the benefits increased? I don't know. You might.
I think that's a question, Jim.
Well, that's something you would look at, and like we're spending a lot of time right now on budgets and benefits and healthcare and everything else. I think it's very important to keep the benefits at a very high standard so I get the best people.
Yes.
And without a doubt, and I mean, you know, the drivers, I've been here since '77. The majority of people in Leelanau County are so dedicated by the road commission people. They're from the old school, someone from the old families, and their sons are from the old family. They just, and it turns out to the right amount of leadership, like you said, it becomes a family. Okay?
It does.
You don't want to come in and start upsetting the hell out of people saying, I'm going to pull your attorney, I'm going to pull your health care. So,
Once I talked about cutting benefits with the commissioners themselves. And when I meet once or twice a month, I don't feel that I need full health care. I don't feel like I need retirement benefits.
that could be a benefit to people for, you know, that would be a benefit to maybe get the right people in there. Healthcare on a bad year can lose everything you've got, and, you know, I think it's a.
Yeah, I'm retired and I'm paying plenty of doctor bills.
I understand. Yes, sir.
I'm not,
I
sure- I'm
agree
not
with
sure,
you.
but I don't think that's currently a benefit for a road commissioner. Just
Used to be.
Yeah, it used to be, but it hasn't been for quite some time.
That's right.
Yeah.
A few years.
I like the word used to.
John Pope got it changed.
Another question, no?
Yes,
You just pick on Jim Day.
Yeah, no, you get to ask it.
I get to ask, okay. Well, I just had one, it took my time, I just gotta think a second. Along the benefit line, we had to open the contract one time with the union right in the middle of contract season because we were gonna lose our mechanics. The mechanics, they had opportunities to leave our road commission because getting highly skilled mechanics, they were in demand. And we were gonna lose two key mechanics. We approached it, we had a good relationship with management and the union. And they allowed us to open the contract up and renegotiate the mechanics' wages. We kept both mechanics, and that was critical. We get a good mechanic that can diagnose the problem of the vehicle, and he saves you a lot of money. Because he knows, he fixes, he doesn't just throw parts at it until he stumbles on the right thing, he fixes it. So I think that relationship between management and the union is critical. I think they have to have it.
Well, we're going to have another interview, and then we're going to make a tough decision, I think. So I want to thank you for joining us. And any last questions from anybody at the table?
I more have a comment. Now, I see you've given up 16 gallon of blood.
Yes,
Good for you. That's incredible. All through the Red Cross?
yes. And I gave actually, I gave 16 to the Red Cross, but then they came up with Michigan blood.
Yeah, the verse.
And they come to the festival downtown Muskegon, the music festival, and they gave there too. So
Wow.
every year I was there.
Yeah, and you're very varied. You've been on, how did you end up on a criminal advisory board?
Oh, yeah. Well, that was kind of a lark. Again, talking to some people, and they said, we're trying to find 2 people that will serve as, on the criminal advisory board, and our job was to keep prisoners out of prison, criminals, was to find alternative punishment for them. It was a difficult job, and I thought, well, that sounds good, I'll get on. Well, if you ever make a mistake, there was a mistake, but I did it. I committed to 2 years, I gave it 2 years, but I was glad to get out because I felt like when you get a guy that's coming in there with a 15 or 16 time repeat offender, and you're gonna keep him out of prison? No, I voted against that. I says, I can't, in good conscience, put this drug addict back on the streets. So it was a tough position, but I was asked to serve by some people that, well, one was a judge, Judge Pittman. He was a probate judge, a black man. I dealt with his wife and other business dealings. And he said, would you consider being on the criminal advisory board? And I let my name go. Well, you ever do something and then you say, whoop, but I made the commitment, so I did for 2 years. But it was tough.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Well, good for you.
Thank you very much. And we'll be in touch with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take a couple-minute break here and we'll get our second interview.
Yep.
Sorry about that, didn't mean to rush you.
No, you're good. I just want to make sure that was green.
It's great.
Thank you.
Do you know all the commissioners?
Not all of them.
Let's start down here and introduce yourself.
It's Melinda Lautner, Solon, Casson Township.
Gwen Allgaier, Glen Arbor,
Empire.
Empire.
We help you with that.
I've said it too many
Cleveland, and
times
Empire.
recently.
Cameron Ross,
Yes,
Centerville.
you didn't make Catherine.
Doug Rexroth, Bingham and Sons Bay.
Ty Wessel, Leelanau, a little bit of Sutton's Bay. And Tim, we're going to take about a half hour today and ask you a few questions, and then we're going to talk about both of you and make a decision. And this is to fill a position that will be vacant until 2026, I think. Yeah, 12/31/2026. And thanks for being here. After we each ask you a question or so, then we'll give you a chance to ask us. And I think this time we'll start at this end. Commissioner Rexroth?
Okay, so did you want to speak a little bit before you
Oh,
started?
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's been, Tim, it's been a long day already.
Yeah, I saw the crowd earlier, so yeah. Yeah, so I'm Tim Lodge. I'm a resident of Solon Township, and I've been there since 1992. And I have been in the area and I served in engineering capacities for all my career. But my most recent long-term capacity, I was at the city engineer for Traverse City for 20 years. It's interesting to see the changes in transportation over the decades that I've been here. I've been part of the problems, if you will, or part of the solutions. It depends on which you look at. We've done a lot towards different modes of transportation. We've done a lot towards improving capacities and things. But we also learned that congestion is a good thing. Traffic is important for our economy. If we don't have the traffic, then a lot of the tourism doesn't occur. But we need to be able to absorb the tourist traffic and then also be able to not have these huge wide boulevards that you would see in maybe other urban communities. So I've been very lucky with that. I retired about a year ago, and I've been working as an engineer, just doing other jobs. Currently, I'm working more in the ski areas, so I've been doing the work out on holiday, kind of, as a volunteer, but they are offering some stipend, so I'm doing some snowmaking improvements for things. And I've worked at Tristan Mountain and things. My main passion is in winter is teaching skiing, so you'll find me out on ski slope somewhere. And I've been at Homestead, I've been at Crystal, I've been at Treetops in Gaylord, and I've been at Hickory Hills. Hickory Hills was one of my hallmark projects when I worked at the city, when I completed the renovation, I was in charge of completing the renovation. So I looked at the opportunity that presented itself and felt that I still have some things to contribute to the public. I thought serving in this role as a board commissioner would be a good opportunity to also keep in line with the things that I know, that I've known for many, many years, many decades about roads, infrastructure. I can tell you a story about how to take a vehicle and make it into a dollar, and our transportation funding, and really talk about transparency, equity, other things that have come up into transportation as necessary for today's users.
Thank you. Thank you. And we all have received your resume and your application, so thanks. Doug, you want to start us off?
Sure. Thanks for being here. What do you see as the core responsibilities of a county road commissioner?
Well, so I did a little bit of looking into minutes the past year, and I looked at the audit and things. And one of the things that stands out on the audit is that there's an issue with the accounting, where they're relying on the road commission to be really the watchdog, if you will, the final say in terms of accountability for the audit. They think that's an essential role. I think that's a very important role, is to be fiscally responsible to the citizens for those expenditures.
Thank you.
I used to be the district forester for Grand Traverse, Leelanau, and Benzie, and worked on getting a logging crew out there before you guys did your magic, and it looks great. So it's kind of hard to see all those trees come down, but I'm so pleased with what you produced. So I'm really concerned on behalf of my constituents about local roads, and I'd like to know how you see the road commission could help work more closely and listen more intently to the public on how we together maintain our local roads.
Yeah, so local roads is a big deal because it is the orphan that really isn't funded directly. And what I was able to do as a city trustee is figure out equity between, maybe there's options for people to cost share maybe the townships, and there was a recent change in the cost sharing policy, but maybe didn't go far enough, we just have to find out where are the resources that we could use to match. We also need to make sure that we understand the conditions of these facilities and how they originated. So if it was a private drive that turned into a public road, there's some level of responsibility for the people that created the roads in the first place. And if they weren't created to the standards that you would typically want to see, there would need to be a higher level of investment on the private side if you're comparing a local road that was developed towards the county road standard versus a local road that wasn't. There's some equity that you have to balance out where a lower proportion of funding goes to those roads, but you still need to figure out how can you get these roads fixed and maintained. I think I saw in the documentation there was a $52 million liability for roads. So that's a lot of liability. And how we get it funded is we need to figure out how much can we absorb locally, and then there are other opportunities to bring in funding depending on the traffic counts and use. Things like intersections, though, if there's accidents, we could look at safety funds, things like that, to try to bring in dollars, because that's going to be very important, is how to get those dollars, how can we fund equitably across the different constituents.
What would you do to further enhance the relationship between the road commission, city, townships, and the villages?
So the MPO is a really good start to be able to be all at the same table. The unfortunate part is the MPO, even though county really covers a small part of it, but it does allow that synergy, those relationships to be built. When I was a city engineer, I got to know the road commission staff quite well because of that small committee that we were on. And we could share problems, we could share solutions as well. So I think open communication, I think, doing the work to get to know everybody and figuring out how everybody can thrive is really important. With having such a small part of the county being in the MPO, I would look at, well, what does that urban boundary look like? Do we need to increase the urban boundary because of population? There are lots of areas in Elmer Township, for example, that do have population centers that would qualify for that. The Blue Guy Road extension, the Blue Guy Road connections, that's to be a great opportunity to really look at, is it really the bypass that I studied and did engineering on in the mid-90s? Because truly it's the de facto bypass, and it really isn't funded as that. It's not, it doesn't have this level of funding that you would want to have for those types of things that it's experiencing, especially with the construction.
Yeah, interesting. So that was not my question, but you actually worked on a bypass. I spoke to a week or so ago how we had asked that go forward some years ago, which I'm guessing is the one off of Gray Road and then go on down probably to Hartman or just a little south, correct?
Well, there was a couple different studies. There was a local study that was initiated through the Road Commission that was, kind of the Leelanau kind of county side of it. Then there was the MDOT side of it, which was pretty much to the east side of it. And I worked on both of them. And what we did during that time is we developed what we call corridors of opportunity. So that was where is there, where is there opportunity corridors that would allow infrastructure to go in that would minimize the impacts to the forest properties, parks, farmland, whatever else you want, wetlands, that type of thing. And unfortunately, at the time, there was the public side of it. There wasn't a lot of support. There's a Petoskey bypass and a Traverse City bypass, and unfortunately, the groups that were supporting it weren't as organized as the groups that were not supporting it. And so the challenges became, are these corridors real? And when you vet the corridors, there was always a problem with a corridor.
Right.
And so you had to whittle. You had to figure out how to get the corridor moved over or narrowed or whatever. And at that time, the transportation agencies weren't willing to compromise on, road widths, lane widths, right-of-way widths and things, as they are today. So,
River crossings.
River crossings, right. Well, and, there was a lot of things that, once challenged on the environmental side of things, it just didn't, whatever was presented, it wasn't prepared for.
So fast forward, right?
Yeah.
2024, and now we have a very difficult time getting out of Leelanau County sometimes. So yeah, we not only needed that corridor, we needed the Chums to 4 Mile corridor, and we now need one south, and we have none of them. So I really do appreciate what work you should do on that.
So diligence, you need to be,
Yeah.
for example, as I helped put the stoplight, of the road to Cedar. My friend, my neighbor, he was in a fatal car accident, caused a fatal car accident, or he was the survivor of the fatal car accident. And I just went to the context that I had and said, well, look, we've had how many fatal accidents in this intersection? And, and I can get under people's skin pretty quick. I think at times, I think Mr. Lewis knows that pretty well. And I just said, what's the reality that this is the only intersection in Leelanau County, perhaps, that has had this number of fatalities.
Yep.
Let's get this done and let's figure out how to do it. And so then, very quickly, there was 3 options that were presented, and one of them was this traffic signal. And thank goodness that there are opportunities like that that still exist.
Definitely agree. Yes, my husband worked on that as well, and they were pushing for a roundabout, which would have taken, I think, 5 years, and he said, no, we can't
We
wait.
need something to do.
Yeah.
There was, you can still, you still can't put a roundabout in, and it's just the immediacy of that was important.
Do we want to talk about what we could do to help get a traffic light at Cedar Run and Gray for the next summer coming up?
Yeah, so, the metrics have to be met. So there has to be the traffic volumes there. I think that hopefully there was some data collection that was done during the last part to show the delayed things, because there's really a couple intersections that are affected by it. The Gray and Blue Guy Road and intersection all the way down to Cedar Run is interesting, but there are more intersections that were probably higher impacted.
Harris is really bad too.
And so then it comes down to, do we do enough for educating people about opportunities for taking alternate routes? I experienced the delay. I started changing my pattern because I'm further to the west, so I could. The opportunity for the north-south traffic, I think we need to look at that, and then if the metrics aren't met, we still need to lobby and make a good case for it. And I think that as what they experience, I would have good hope that you could have convinced that at least a temporary facility would be placed at those 2 intersections.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to ask about road ends. We have a lot of road ends in Leelanau County. Sometimes those are county roads, sometimes they're not. But there's been controversial decisions made sometimes about road ends. Have you thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts. Engineers do have lots of thoughts. So it depends on how it was put together in the first place. Is it a use by right? Is it a dedicated plat? What is the legal structure for which it exists in the first place? Has it been used by the public? What is the level of public use? And it comes down to then, obviously the things that are really, really important you fight for. Some of the things that maybe are not as important and you have to compromise and do things. So the road and public access, it's the public's. If it's legally configured that way, then it is the public. And you need to protect it. You might need to, go to court, you might need to do some things. There may be costs associated with it, but it is public access. And then you get into the behavior parts of the public access. That's probably not so much the road commission as it is the legal status, but the use of the public right of ways, especially for recreation, is very important. And it comes down to bringing together the entities that care about that particular location and making sure that everybody has all of the information that they need to make good decisions.
Thank you. Anybody else? Question? Yes.
I was really happy to hear you were involved in that M72 at South of Cedar. I use that all the time myself and appreciate that. I'm working with Leelanau Township residents, and I know it's a state trunk line, M22, but so is M72. But with House Bill 4012, I'm meeting with Betsy Kofia to continue our drama of trying to get speed looked at to improve safety for everybody. I just kind of feel like having a really strong advocate at the County Road Commission would certainly help us bring all the different parties together to make real change for people happen. And I just don't know if if you can comment on that or how.
Well, the state legislature has handcuffed local agencies for speed. And it's always been a state police function. It's always been don't ask for it because it's always going to go up because of people's behavior. So I always look at, well, what is the environment that you're trying to look at changing the speed in, and is the environment really conducive to that speed? If you allow the environment to close in on the roadway, it's not so wide open, and you can generally slow the speed down. There are things that you can do to impact it, but it's land use. It's other things that necessarily you're trying to legislate the speed, because you're not going to change the behavior of the driver by just putting a sign up. You're only going to be able to change the behavior of the driver by changing the environment in which they're experienced in and creating that they want us to know. That's the human factor about it, is that we drive the way we drive. And if I had a magic pill for solving why people speed, I'd be a billionaire, because it's a thing that when you're standing there next to the side of the road and a car goes by at 30 miles an hour, it feels very intimidating, even though it's 30 miles an hour. Some states have dealt with it a little differently. They've allowed the basic speed to go to 30, and maybe the behavior doesn't cheat so much as the 30. So Florida's like that. Michigan, the legislators have changed it where it's pretty difficult to get speed limits put in with the new speed standards, because people's behavior, unless the environment really is there for that speed, it's very difficult to get a speed study to really read the way that you intended to read. I'm explaining myself. I do think that they just did some legislative changes that will allow us some better, but again, there's time. It takes time to get that implemented, and then culturally speaking, you still have to deal with the people that do the speed monitoring that don't necessarily agree with the way the legislature is.
Is that your question?
I'm sorry. I was lost in the idea that I don't like getting tickets. So, so actually, if the speed limit changes, I grudgingly still go 7 miles over, but.
Yeah, it's the 5 over rule that we get taught somewhere that.
No, I think it's 7.
So.
Don't tell me it's not 7.
I thought it was 9 myself. I'm sorry.
Nine.
how Southern came from.
Um,
Here that talk to just Debs and just bets on it.
Gwen, are you asking a question or are you?
Yeah, sure. I just changed my mind on what
Oh.
question. Tell you what, I'll go after you.
All right, well, I just was going to speak to, I really love and appreciate all of the old county, the dirt roads, the old two tracks and the old mail routes, et cetera. And I know you live on
I live
a
on one.
dirt road. So,
Dusty dirt.
a dusty dirt road, and I think you kind of spoke to that a little bit in the answer to the first question you were asked about, you know, the public input or the private input in the funding for roads. But, you know, do you see you need to preserve some of those old roads and not pave over everything we've got in our county?
Yeah, I think a gravel road is a fine facility for the intended purpose. You know, there's asset management plans for gravel roads. There's Hazer ratings for gravel roads. I am concerned about on gravel roads the drainage that's around it. You know, we love clean water. One of the impediments, one of the threats to our clean water is sediment. So if we have a gravel road that discharges into the lake, even though it's sand going into the lake, it's really a detriment because there's more than just sand that comes off the roadway. So I think that a gravel road can service things just fine. It's the way it's constructed, it's the way it's maintained, it's the way it's drained. And I can tell you that there's some work that we could do to look at those and provide cost-effective solutions to allow gravel roads to remain for some access. It's just a matter of the way they're constructed and the way they're maintained. And who really comes up with the burden? Is it really, should it be 100% the public maintaining those roads? Because if you look at maintaining a gravel road versus maintaining a paved road, maybe it's not equitable, and maybe it's not sustainable.
Did you have one?
I figured, yes.
Okay.
Who should drive the setting of priorities of road improvement projects undertaken by the road commission? The commission, the city, the township, the villages?
So, it's a challenge because you need to include all of those components into the decision making. But the root of asset management is if you've got a facility that's in poor condition, you want to make investments to a point where it's not going to deteriorate more rapidly than if you don't make those investments. So sometimes you have to put money into something that isn't popular because it makes the most fiscal sense as a business enterprise moving forward to maintain it in a serviceable condition. So instead of letting it get totally messed up, you want to make investments into it. And part of the process with the road commission is to develop the public transparency so everybody knows that when they're putting together a road improvement plan, that it services keeping things at the highest level of service possible for everybody in the county. Sometimes there's winners and losers in that, but if you develop a good public understanding of the role of the road commission and you offer the public transparency for how things get improved and why they get improved, then you have a much better chance at public acceptance of that as a business decision, not necessarily a political decision of is it the city, is it the township. The thing that trumps everything is that if a particular entity wants to make more of an investment in the public infrastructure than another, then I think that there's opportunities to listen to that and figure out should we spend a smaller proportion if we're getting a larger share and make that improvement. I still think that if you find folks that are willing to make investments in your infrastructure, you need to figure out how to make your policies work so that you can take advantage of those resources, not just, we can't put that kind of money into it. We get $500,000 on our taxes, and it says here in the last public brief to the public, it says that it's primarily used for winter maintenance. Maybe we need to look at that half a mil, but maybe we need to look at another half a mil for some of the local roads and some of these other things that are needing improvements, that if we don't make those investments, then it's going to be 5 mils to fix it, in 10 years, and the report's going to tell you that, right? So, we need to be looking into the system, we need to be looking into the proper level of investment, we need to be looking at what other resources that we can bring. And, if we don't have the local monies to match the other dollars that may be available, then we need to really look at that, because we might be missing the opportunity to make a nickel turn into a dollar.
Tim, we're running out of time, but I want to pick up on one. You made a statement about sometimes I get under their skin.
Yes.
We want strong board members, but we want a team, right? Talk about the kind of board member you'd be at the table.
Well, so I know that I'm a board member. I'm not the board member. I'm a board member. So there needs to be a collaboration of the board. There needs to be a majority, if you will, or a supermajority of the board, depending on what the issue might be. So you need to be able to work with others, play well in the sandbox, and build support for the concepts and ideas that will move the decision making into being able to make a decision. Sometimes there's compromise. Sometimes there's more deliberation that's required to allow questions to be asked and answered about, why is it so important that this decision be made at this time.
Anybody, one last question, or can we ask him if he's got a question for us?
Go ahead.
Got a question for anybody?
Well, the only question was the decision making, you were going to do that today?
I think we're going to try.
We hope to.
That was the only question that I really had. I appreciate the opportunity to present my worries. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I think I've learned a little bit about the politics of everything, thanks to Richard and counseling me through a lot of things in my early part of my career. And I do believe I have a regional knowledge base and connections, if you will, or relationships with folks like Migrant MDOT that will help understand how we can improve our roads.
Thank you very much. And we're going to stay right here and talk about the candidates and try to make a decision. You're welcome to sit here. I think Mr. Black's out there, and he's welcome to come in as well.
Tim, do you teach at Bristol?
I do.
Mr. Rexroad, Commissioner Rexroad.
Well, we have two excellent candidates here, no two ways about it. Thank you both for your time here. Trying to figure out which way to go is not easy. I'm 51-49 here, and then 49-51. I look at replacing John Pope, and I'm trying to think of what he brought, and it's a combination. He was an engineer, but he also had a depth of history on the road commission. And if I'm tilting one way or another, right now, I guess I would say I probably lean towards Mr. Black. I think that we have expertise in engineering in our existing road engineer and on the board, and his depth of experience on the road commission. I think on an existing road commission and dealing with those issues on a day-to-day basis tilts me towards him.
Commissioner Lautner?
Yeah, I don't know if you're reading my notes, Doug, or not from down there.
This is not common for us, okay? So let's,
No, it's not. I feel much the same way. First of all, I'm very thankful to have two candidates, and both have absolutely great skills. And I thought along the same line, and I do remember we have Garth in the audience, and one of the concerns I had when Garth was appointed was that the road commission hires engineers, to do that work. And that, I didn't want the interference or potential interference or even perceived interference of another engineer on the board. And then Mr. Black brings, obviously, the board experience of being on a road commission. So same way, two great candidates, and I'm leaning also towards Mr. Black.
Commissioner Ross?
Yeah, both great candidates, thank you both, but I think bringing strength to the board might look like someone who is quite familiar with the community and the players that are involved in maintaining a strong road commission. So I'm feeling that Mr. Lodge has that past experience in this area to bring strength to our board by having good relationships built in place locally. So.
This is a tough decision because we have two very, very qualified people. One with experience on a road commission and one is an engineer who knows the ins and outs of, I wish you were applying to be on the road commission as an engineer. Mr. Black has run twice trying to be on the commission, and he's worked at this for a very, very long time. It's been a goal. So perhaps it is his turn. Saying that you're both so qualified, it's a very difficult differentiator.
You just made my life easier. I thank both of you, and I loved Tim's expertise and his knowledge base. And I admire Mel's passion. I hope that both of you will run again, and I think I would support Mr. Black.
So may I make a motion?
Yes.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners appoint Mr. Black to the Leelanau County Road Commission for the balance of the term ending 12/31/2026.
Support.
Any further discussion? All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Opposed?
Thank you both.
Thank
We
you
need one more
both.
vote.
Yes, aye.
Opposed?
Okay, I forgot to say all those.
Well, because I didn't know what you were doing with it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So can we vote again, please? We have a motion on the floor. All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion approved for 1. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Tim.
Yep.
Thank you, Mel. Let's take a 5-minute break and allow Mr. Janik to come up to the table.
Oh, well, all over me.
We'll take an elect, no, I'm allergic to cats, not dogs.
And we will reconvene at this time. We're down to item number 2 on our agenda. And Chet, you're here, and thank you. And you want to start us off today?
Sure. I'll do that. I was guessing to be done around 2:30, so not too bad. Estimate, that's when I do an agenda. So thank you. As you know, let me give a brief overview. The job was posted on October 2nd. The county administrator, deadline was November 7th. 37 applicants were put in a resume for the position. Last Friday, all of you received a packet with all the resumes and cover letters. I want to compliment all of you for doing your homework over the weekend and getting the results back to me by Monday. And I have compiled those into a spreadsheet here. Michigan law does allow you to go to closed session to review your candidates, and we have several that requested that the names not be public. And by law, you have the right to go to closed session, and they have the right to remain confidential until they accept an interview. So I believe you have a proposed motion.
Oh, you got it?
Oh, yes, I do have it. Go ahead if you have it as well.
I move that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners go into closed session pursuant to MCL 15.268F to review and consider the contents of the applications for employment or appointment to a public office for the candidates that have requested confidentiality, and further that MLI consultant Chet Janik and interim administrator Richard L. Lewis be included in the closed session.
Support.
All those in support, please call the roll, please.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Chairman Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Elguyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yeah.
6-0.
We'll go in here and, Chet, how long for the audience do you?
I assume pretty long, it will not be a long closed session.
How did you get an agenda?
There's one out there. You want? Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry, 5-0.
I want to hear about it one more time.
I'm recording.
Are we ready for?
Yes,
Move to come out of closed session.
motion to
Support.
moved and seconded. All those in support of coming out of closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Who seconded
Thank you,
that?
we are.
I did.
Thank you, Chet. Will you give us a summary of?
Yeah, and assuming you agree with this recommendation, I would recommend that the clerk post their resumes online before the interview process, so everyone can see the background information. So based on the feedback that I received, it appears that you as the board wish to interview 9 candidates, or offer the option to interview 9 candidates. So the Mr. Positions in the county, those 9 candidates are Kathleen Belcher, Mark Brown, Eric Cece, James Dyer, James Kiso, Matthew Marski, Robert Reinschulte, Jeffrey Thornton, and Graham Hughes.
Do we need a motion to that effect? So moved to
Officially offer them.
to officially offer and interview the list as recited by Mr. Janik.
Support.
Any further discussion?
Do we need to mention when the interviews will be?
Pardon? Do we need to mention
just
when the
only-
interview-
Yeah, we'll talk about that next.
All those in support of the motion on the floor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we
I
have
just wanted to
identified
say
that.
thank you to the remaining, what would it be, 28 that applied.
Yeah, I think you're a strong full candidate.
Yep, very nice.
All right, I'll wait till.
Now we want to talk about firming up dates and process and.
Yes.
We did.
Yeah, we voted, didn't we?
You have as, according to the schedule that we looked at a little over a month ago, your interviews will take place on this coming,
18th and 19th.
the 18th and 19th, starting at 9:30 in the morning. And I will leave it up to Chet to figure out who's going to be
Yeah.
when.
So I'll call them this afternoon, I'll start today, trying to schedule it, because I'm fairness to them, let them know as soon as possible. So, the format will be 1 hour between the interviews. I'll give you sample questions, as we did last time. And we'll try to get them, depending if I'll accept, try to get 5 and 4 and wrap it up on the 19th. And then we can have an option of selecting a candidate or do a second round. I would recommend second round.
And could you, between the two of you, I know you've had some discussion on how we get input from the next Board of Commissioners.
Yeah, assuming, and this is just my thoughts, assuming that the election is certified on, is it this week?
It'll be this week or possibly as late as Tuesday. That we have to have it done by Tuesday.
Okay. I can reach out to the candidates and let them, give them an update, invite them to meetings, also give them copies of the resumes and encourage them that they, well, to come to the interviews, would they have any comments or questions to contact their commissioner for their input? That would feel like part of the process.
Everybody comfortable with that?
As with all the public,
But I'll
can
make sure
do that
they reach
as well.
out to
Yep.
the incoming commissioners.
Yep.
And I can put together a packet of the resumes of the 9, send them to them, assuming they accept the interviews.
Comfortable with the process?
So,
Are you gonna get some-
November 18th at 9:30.
Check.
and November 19th.
Are you gonna provide us with some sample questions
Yeah,
again, or?
yeah, I think I, yeah.
And we'll have a chance to discuss that beforehand, sticking to the schedule, or sticking to the questions on the paper, or?
Well, that's up to you. I would suggest you do the challenge sometimes. If you have a commissioner that does a lot of follow-up questions, it eats up time for everybody else.
Or goes off script.
Yeah. Had one incident where one commissioner took about 20 minutes of 50 questions, and it wasn't fair to other commissioners.
Imagine that.
And that's why I always recommend a second round, because that's really more of a dialogue. As you know, the last time, sometimes you see a different side of the candidate, the second round, which is more of a dialogue back and forth, and more free flowing. And then I would recommend we also do the open house sites. as we did last
You had
time.
like a rating sheet last time too,
Yeah,
that's
still
right?
the same.
Same rating sheet, and then you can fill that for us for,
Yeah, I'll get those, yeah, those will all be ready by Monday for you.
If everybody accepts an interview, one day we'll have 5 interviews. Would it be possible to start at 9 o'clock?
You've already signed a piece of paper saying 9:30. I could go in there and change it real quick.
I'm just thinking that we don't want to be here.
Yeah, I mean, 9
Based
might be a
on-
good idea, we can just TA it,
Or
or,
based on your schedules, would you
Initial
prefer, if we have 9, it's a big if, because some are out of state.
that's true.
And would you prefer they be on the 18th or 19th?
The 5,
Yeah.
we have a regular board meeting the evening of the
Yeah.
19th, so do you want some time after interviews to have some time off before we hit regular, or maybe 5 on the 18th?
Yeah, let's do 5 on the 18th.
Would you have a problem with that, or?
No.
Okay, so if there is 9.
If there's 9.
If there's 9.
Right. Otherwise,
we'll
4
have,
and 4,
5
or
on
4 and
next
3.
Monday, and 4 next.
Right. Okay.
Another good point with that one, after your 4th interview, if you want to weed the candidates down to which ones you want back, it gives you an extra time on
Yeah.
Tuesday to do
Yeah.
that.
Which I agree now.
Yeah, so you're not,
Okay.
right, you might need extra time for the deliberation instead of the interviews, what you're saying, which is quite possible, I think.
quite I hope so.
You also, as you know, don't have to make a decision on the 18th. You can
Yeah.
think about it. Some boards wish to pick a date to think about it.
And we will adjust accordingly.
But there may be a clear decision too, so it's really hard to say
Right.
until you do the interviews.
Depends on what your thoughts and your feedback and what you're, yeah.
So we're asking someone from out of state, way out of state.
There are 2
If they
candidates.
make it to the second round, they would have to fly here twice.
Yep.
What you did last time, previous time, you chose to pay for travel for the second round only. And you put a cap of $500 on it in 2022.
Which would be fair. Which would be fair.
I think that's fair.
Probably.
Okay.
But it's only for the second round,
Yeah.
and you put a cap on it, so.
Right.
You had one candidate in 2022 that was outside of state, that you didn't reimburse them for his travel.
Okay.
But you can decide that in the second round and see where you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, there is no commitment in the reimbursement.
And if we bring them back for the second round, they'll have an opportunity to, like we did last time, meet with staff. And we had talked about the possibility of having them have a meet and greet with the commissioner-elects, just so they would see who they were working with as well.
But they'll be invited to come to the first round also.
Yeah.
I'll put together a packet of all the resumes we'll have to accept the interviews and send them out to the incoming commissioners.
Are we all set? Do you want us to sign a paper for 9 o'clock or wait and see how many interviews we have?
Well, we can do 9 o'clock and we'll get you taken care of, I guess. I need to write-
Yeah,
I guess I need to know if we just call them, set up interview times.
Why don't we just switch it to 9, and if we only
Well,
have less,
if
then
you-
we're done
Okay, I'll tell
early.
you what,
Is there
three of you
available
hang
on
around
that?
for a few minutes.
Well, are we
Okay.
going to have it early so we have time to discuss the questions before the first interview, correct?
If you want, if,
Is that
let's
what the thought
assume you do
is?
the 18th at 9 o'clock, I'll still start the interviews at 9:30.
That's what I was,
And
that's
and
where I
then
was
the
going.
next one will start at 10.
10:30. I'll give you 10 minute break between,
But I mean,
and a lunch break.
and then Tuesday, we'll start at 10
Let's just
or
do it
9:30 with the first interview, right?
Which
Same
I'll
thing.
do it at 9:30.
Otherwise, I think we can
Okay.
initial the
I mean-
change, right?
It's always gonna be like a prayer and a thing and public comment and stuff, so there's no way that.
Now, you could, and help me out now, but you could just suspend the meeting on the 18th and start again on the 19th.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that, because otherwise we got another half hour of preamble.
Oh, with public comment.
So what are you saying?
The second day, just don't just suspend the meeting on Monday if that's possible, and then just reopen it Tuesday, otherwise we gotta go through
Yeah,
public
we
comment.
just recess. I think,
You will
right?
Just recess.
you'll just recess, but you can have an idea of what time you want. That would be very helpful for the public. But we won't host two separate meetings. It should be one combined, and we would have
So you
recessed.
could recess at the end of Monday until 9:30.
I think that's what they did last time.
Do we
They
need to
just
net
recessed
let-
it.
Our administrator know that, who's now,
He's coming with his paperwork.
We need you to stay
I
to
think.
sign.
okay, but he's just gonna ink out what needs to be changed.
We're gonna cross a line through it, I hope, with initials.
I think you've been the clerk and Richard.
But we just need three of
We
you
just
here
need
to
to
do
sign it.
that.
Okay.
Have we conducted all of our business on this topic and ready to move to public comment? You got everything you need?
I do.
Then at this time, we have public comment.
So just look for an email, probably hopefully tomorrow, with the specific schedule. Because I will start calling them this afternoon and saying the schedule. So you'll know who's coming and what time.
Thank you very much, Chet, for your work.
Yes, thank you.
Making breakfast.
Getting my clock out here. Any public comment? Mr. Makowski?
Good afternoon, again. And all my comments are based to things for better.
Mr. Makowski, just a second, we'll let you start over. Okay,
Comments are to help things to everyone going into the future of our community. Going back to 1992, as we were in, and the discussion of where the bypass on Traverse City should be. The city fathers opted to have
This is all self-interest on my part.
Tell me where?
shoreline. They- Because they had elsewhere, people would not stop in Traverse City to do business. The option of Airport Road, which was a two-track, was considered. The city fathers were wiser.
Mr. Whitesong.
And then we have the same year, the county road commission has arrogance. Did a lot of harm and damage to our family. Without any compensation, they elevated the road in front of our house. So we could never get in our house, our home, to the lake. 20 years ago, we met with the road commission and we tried to help our and became part of our driveway as some kind of compensation for the harm and damage they had done. And I had also for free, opposite side of the road. That road, opposite side of the road, the bond. The commission and its arguments refused. We suffered a lot. My dad had 2 cars damaged because he had to park on the roadway. He could never park on the road. More good things. We heard today that not that many counties have a road millage. It would be wise if this commission would understand why. Why would county commissioners allow some counties to be burdened by their road taxes? Road taxes were initiated, self-initiated by the county commission. They were not by a lawful petition of the people. Prior to that time, all road commissions, most of them today, are funded by state funds and any other funds they assign to them. So it would be interesting to learn what caused this change in the Monroe County. Inadequate funding, poor spending habits, or the state withdrawing funds so that they shifted, the state legislature shifted the burden more and more to local communities. But we never asked those questions. And there they have and the normal habit of this county commission and other county commissions is always approved renewal villages without asking for accountability. So we want to get this commission and other future commissions to be always asking questions for accountability so that we can have the best possible least cost Republican form and really form. Thank you. One other thing. I looked at this plan. It identifies the Coolmont Pond nature area in Leelanau Township as 90 acres. And it says it's in the village of Leelanau. Those are 2 untrue statements. It's 100 acres in the village park, registered with the BEQ or DNR. It also has 40 acres of use and solar for people, the sewer system. Nothing is said or explained about it in here. We have the same problem with the climate commission and Parks and Rec, Leelanau Township, not wanting to address the harm and damage that was caused by using that Coolmont Park nature area, a designated park for the sewer project. So I asked this commission to look at this and have this whole area corrected. Can you hear me now?
No, you and I will talk after this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCullough. Bill?
Bill Wiesner, Leelanau Township, and this video is of Clint Curtis on the right, I think. He's the guy that started the program. It's like 200 lines or something like that to flip the votes in Florida 51-49 back in 2002. He thought the guy that asked him, who was a congressman in Florida, to do this was to protect from others doing this. But actually that Republican congressman wanted to use it. That was back then. So since then, he's been trying to stop the fraud. And this is just a 2-minute spot on how one of the ways counting by paper ballots can work. So let's see if it works here.
You can set your numbers because you know what your voters are. And you'll see how quick it goes through these things, when you see the things, and you'll count it basically in two people counting on each section, so you have that, and then you have more people, you count another, then you add them up at the end, it has kind of a double cross check, so you never make a mistake, or at least you know when you made mistakes, you have to go back and count them again, but, you know that those 50, you made one error, then you have to start over, so you get to 50, and then you know you're correct. And then you can run right through, it's 2 hours maximum.
Let's take a minute. Now, let's take a minute and watch the system that you're describing here, just so that people can have an appreciation for just how simple it is. So Clint, I think what we saw there at the very end, on the right-hand side of the screen is the tally sheet. On the left-hand side was the ballot that was being counted. Is that correct?
Well, they get to the tally sheet after they counted the ballots.
Right.
So the tally sheet's actually sitting underneath the ballot. So as you count them, you'll see the ballots actually on the screen, so you'll see how it's marked, because you know which race you're on. You'll see the button being pushed. So if someone cheats,
I have my finger on the off button, thank you. So, like 5 teams, people having relaxed, but concentrating under camera, and that's the way you need to go. And then everything is accountable. Anybody can watch the video again. I've lost my time, so you're going to tell me when it's done. Everybody can watch the video again. You take away all the stress, and everybody's satisfied. And do away with the centralized voting, absolutely. We do it by precinct or county here, that's the way it should be in the precinct level. That's where the fraud can occur otherwise. This handout, tcfamily.org, has got a lot on it. The one is 100% proof. One county in Colorado, or Arapahoe, was totally in line with the Democrats. All the Republican ones were 24 to 32% higher. That's an algorithm going that happened. So, how much time do I have left? How many pieces of sand?
22 seconds.
Okay. So I urge you to check. I mean, this was all designed. It's been more and more fraud introduced with decentralized locations and such, and we've got to get rid of them. There'll be no trust until then. We don't want to put the pressure on the clerks either.
Thank you.
Make it accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for sticking around for us. Any other public comment? Any commissioner comments?
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
You waited till 4 o'clock, Doug, thanks a lot.
Would have loved to have done